Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm FiddlinJonny and this is my fiddle channel and magic product review. Before I do any magic product review, I do a quick fiddle tune. Buckle in and here we go. Let's do something fun and snappy today. Alright, well there we go. I am glad that you are all here, and today I'm going to be reviewing David Penn's latest release called the Accumulator deck. Now this is a really interesting release. It's a variation of an earlier release that he has put out with Wayne Fox, and I think you'll be interested in it. Anyway, stick around, we'll get right into it. Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. All right, let's talk about the Accumulator deck by David Penn. Now, if you're not familiar with David Penn, he is a professional working magician, runs the World Magic Shop, also a magic product reviewer, probably the first YouTube magic product reviewer out there. So great long history and some great releases from the past. Let's talk a little bit about this. And before I sort of get into it, I struggle when I do these in terms of, once you know the method, you want to go, oh, I want to tell you about it so to see if it's right for you. But of course, that's not the right thing to do. I'm going to, though, however, try to give you things that are not in the ad copy that I think if I were you, it's like, oh, I wish I'd known that, because it may have influenced me or would make me think like, I still want to get it, but I know that's a piece I'm going to have to work on. Because I like the effect and I want to be able to perform it. But I know maybe I'm weak in this area and I'd like to, wish I had known that piece. So without tipping method, I'm going to try to give you some of those perspective. Of course, it's going to help if you know what the heck the effect is. In essence, I would boil this down to, it's the burgless effect. It's the any card at any number effect is the core piece of it. However, the routine here is set up that you will have, I think of it as 3 spectators. One spectator is going to think of a card. A second spectator is going to pick a card. And your first, your first spectator can pick a red card, and let's say you have your second spectator pick a black card, and then you'll have a third spectator who can pick a number randomly from 1 to 52. You will, by essentially asking a single question, know what both spectators' card is. Okay, and they would have 2 different cards, but with one question, you'll be able to define what it is. Then you can choose how to reveal it. So it has 2 reveals. One of the reveals is that you simply cut the packet of cards to one of your spectators' chosen card. And then for your other spectator, or for the second card that's simply a thought of card, you will deal the cards down to the table to the number position that was freely chosen from the third spectator. And at that position is the other spectator's thought of card. I don't know if I highlighted that. It's thought of card. You basically do a ribbon spread, and they will look at a card and just think of it. They don't pull it out. They don't write it down. There's no peeking. The cards are not marked, and you'll still know what the card is that they picked. That in and of itself is well worth the price of admission, in my humble opinion. So, yeah, that's what it is. Let's talk about what do you get. So you're going to get this little cover with your deck of cards in it. These are red bicycle backed cards, except they are gaffed, so it's a fully gaffed deck. You're going to get a crib as well that you could use if you need to use a crib. And then you're going to get a streaming tutorial that's on Vimeo. That's basically, it's 15 minutes in length. That's what you're getting. On Vimeo, I can't download. I don't know if you have a professional level, if you can download it, but mine's just a streaming level. So that's what you're going to get. Let's talk a little bit about the instructions. And here's the hard part for me. I want to say the instructions are really good, and I would say they're 99% really good, with 1% that I wish it had some additions that would have made a big difference for me. But if you've ever watched the Wizard product review or Wizard Magic review, it is shot in the same location. It's David Penn sitting at the couch there doing the tutorial. It's just him doing the tutorial. He has multiple cameras shoot. and one of the cameras is just over his shoulder, so it's a nice close tight shot of his hands and the cards, which I really liked, and good quality. He goes at a pace that I think is really nice, and the method is relatively simple, so it's a pretty straightforward tutorial. In that 50 minutes you get everything you need to be able to perform this, and I don't know that you need more than 50 minutes ultimately to be able to do this. I feel like it's really adequate. I'll add also that I think David does such a nice job with giving credit to this, and sort of the folks in the shoulders of the people we stand on. And in particular, credit goes to Wayne Fox, who he worked with on the 52-to-1 deck, and came up with what I think he calls it the Wayne Fox subtlety. And the Wayne Fox subtlety here is the ability to ask a single question, and basically based upon the answer of that single question, you'll know exactly which card both of your spectators have chosen. They're two different cards, but with that one question you can be able to do that, which I think is such an essential element of this effect, and done really well, and super ridiculously easy on that side of it. Here's the downside. This is my 1%, or maybe I should make it 5%. When I felt like when I got it and opened it up and went, oh, this is the next evolution of the 52-to-1 deck, which I have and I've used and I've performed professionally and really like the effect. And I've used it more in parlor setting rather than sort of like doing close-up sets. And that's where I've liked it, in bringing folks up on stage and having them just simply look and think of a card and then defining those cards. And this feels like another evolution of that deck of cards. This deck of cards, while there's some similarities, it is not a mirror image of that deck of cards. So I was kind of cocky, watched the tutorial and go, oh, yep, I get it. This is so easy. Actually started writing some of my reviews. I take notes while I watch a tutorial. And then I went to perform it and realized, oh, I did not have confidence in, like, especially when it got to the point about where the number that is named and dealing down the cards to that position and ensuring that that card was at that position. I clearly did not memorize that piece. So I then went back and went to my crib sheet to be able to do it, and realized that, oh, I didn't understand the crib sheet. I thought I had, but now that I'm doing it, I realized, oh, I don't. I needed to go back and watch the tutorial. I went back and watched the tutorial. I followed along and mirrored exactly what David was doing. 100%, not a problem. I got it. And then I thought I'd better practice, like, what if this card was chosen, or these two cards were chosen, and this number was chosen, and just to sort of challenge myself. So I did 3, to be exact, like 3 different sort of performances. And for the life of me, I could not get the card at number. And it's a problem. It's just an addition issue. If you can do addition and subtraction, you can do this. When I mean addition and subtraction, you're not like doing large numbers of 50 minus 32 or something of that nature. You're doing an addition of either 2 or 4. So really simple. I think most people can add 2 or 4. But I, for the life of me, could not quite figure out order. Like, do I go up in cards or do I go down on cards? And despite what seemed like to me like really good instructions from David, my brain just couldn't freaking get it. And I have to admit, I'm a little embarrassed by it, but I want to share it with you so that you know what some people's experience are, in case you have the same experience. I kept saying to myself, like, oh, once you get the concept, FiddlinJonny, you got this. And intellectually I understood it, but in practice I couldn't. I clearly was messing up on something. So I went back and watched the tutorial for a 3rd time, and just with intensity, like, what is the piece that I'm missing? And it was in that time around, and again, where I mirrored exactly what he was doing. It worked perfectly. I picked, now again, random cards and random numbers, and just did it till I beat it into my head in terms of what the method was and how to do it, and every card that could possibly be chosen, practicing so that I knew that I had it down. So it took me a little bit longer than expected, and I really wanted to share that with folks so that it should not be taken as don't purchase this, and I think most people will not have the experience that I had. I think most people will get it right away and just be able to perform it. But I had some sort of mental block with the addition piece and which direction to go. That'll make sense for some folks who purchase this. It just took me a little longer, but I wanted to share that with folks. I think if I was to change anything, I would have had David go ahead and, rather than just once walk through the method and give the examples, which he did, like I probably would have added sort of like drills with random cards chosen, random numbers, and just follow along with those. I had to create that for myself, which is fine. It's what I should do anyway. But it's what it took for me to be able to go, okay, I got the confidence now to perform this. That may be some of the biggest takeaway on this overall. All right. I will add, in terms of just to talk about method, like what it's not. Like your cards are not marked. There's no electronics involved here. There's no fishing. You ask one question, you know what the cards are that they have. There's some memory work, but the memory work, despite my challenge, it will be relatively easy for everyone out there, I think. I do want to talk about ACANs, and I feel like every time I go into a forum and someone's talking about an ACAN and any card at any number routine or the burglary effect, and people say, oh, this is one of those effects that magicians really love, but it's not really, spectators don't love it as much as magicians. I just think that's poppycock. I think if you are a good performer, it is miraculous that you are able to divine exactly, that their freely chosen number and their freely thought of card is at that position of that number. To me, that's miraculous. And if you're not getting a good response from your spectators, I would say you've got to look at your performance. Is it too procedural heavy? Have you done framing and pacing wrong? Because I honestly find it to be really, really awesome. It's also one of those things, I hope every magician has an ACAN that they do. How many ACANs do you need? You only need one ACAN. If you have an ACAN that you really like, do you need a new one? Probably not. I think if you're drawn to an ACAN that doesn't have any sleight of hand involved, that really your spectator can freely choose a card, you don't have to force a card on them, and with simple math, addition of 2 or 4, you're able to deal cards to the table to the exact location of their card. Simple as that. Then I think you might like this and really worthy of looking at. The other thing that I'll add in terms of if you're considering it, I think some people put out releases and it's something that they just came up and it was a clever method. I think there's a difference when you purchase products from a working professional with something from their working repertoire, and that's what David's done here. This is part of his working repertoire, and he's been using it, I think, for almost the last 5 years. So it's a worker, and in the hands of a good performer. So I think you can feel relatively rest assured if you like the routine, and knowing the method is easy, it may be something you want to consider, and just know that you're working with a gaffed deck rather than doing an ungaffed version. That simple. So yes, with your gaffed deck, then you'll like this and you'll be able to do it quite easily. All right. I will add one other thing that I feel like David Penn teaches some wonderful subtleties in this that I think are just really nice, that make a big difference and sort of punch up the effect. Let's talk a little bit about the prop. It is red Riderback bicycle cards, and they're good quality. They're just simply gaffed. Not gimmicked, gaffed cards. So all really good quality. I think if I look at this and think about what is the skill level, I would say this is advanced beginner. I wouldn't recommend, if this is your very first trick you're looking for, I would probably start with something maybe a little bit easier. But if it's the first trick that you're ever purchasing it, you'll still be able to do it and do it with relative ease. But it might be, I would consider, a little bit more advanced beginner. But still at a beginner level for sure. I think I've talked about most of the things that I consider pros here. I don't think I mentioned that it's an instant reset, which I really like. So if you want to go ahead and perform it again, even for the same crew of people, you could, and they could pick different cards and you'd be able to perform it as well. There's no sleight of hand involved with this at all. Although David Penn does teach a couple sleights that you could use if you wanted to. Why you would do it with sleight of hand is beyond me. David doesn't use sleight of hand in it, and I think that just makes it harder for yourself. Why would you do that when you don't need to do any sleights? But it is sleight free, and if you wanted to do sleights, you could. I know I've said this, but I'm going to punctuate it. The card is freely chosen. The number at which it is at is freely chosen as well, which I think are really strong elements to this effect. With that said, because it is a gaff deck, you cannot hand it out to your spectators. It really becomes a one-trick deck. That sounds really negative, but I think the effect is strong enough that for me it doesn't matter, but important for folks that if you don't want to take up lots of pocket space and you only want to use non-gaffed cards, then this may not be for you, but it is a one-trick deck in essence. I would also add, this is the sort of stuff that's not like in ad copy. If you perform regularly, the memory work will be so easy on this that you won't need to use any memory work. It'll just become natural for you. If you perform infrequently, I suspect, I know for me, like if I go for a month without performing this, I will have to go like, okay, what's the method again? Until I really have probably put in 100 performances or maybe 50 performances before it's like, okay, I can pick this deck up anytime, even if it's been a month, and be able to perform it. So just know that piece, that if you perform infrequently, you might have to remind yourself about what is the method and those pieces of it. I think folks are going to like this. If you're a card magician, you're going to like this. Especially I think if you're a close-up card magician, I think table work is where this is really ideal. Looks the best, although you could do all this really in your hands for the most part. But it is, I think, a card magician's close-up type of effect and where it's best. You could use it for walk-around as well because it does have an instant reset on it. If you're curious about cost in the United States, this is $36. I think from a cost point, it's a very reasonable price for this effect and a good value. So, all right, that's it for me on this one. I hope that is helpful. I hope I shared some things in my own experience that were helpful for you. If you've purchased it, leave a comment and let me know some of your own thoughts on it. Punctuate or highlight points that maybe I made that you want to make sure that folks really see or understand. Or if you got it right away and can understand what took me so long to understand sort of the addition part, add your thoughts and comments on that as well. And please make sure that you like this and subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed. It's really appreciated. Thanks everyone for being here. I'm FiddlinJonny, and remember to keep fiddling around with your magic. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.